to be a lot of highlights in this one, maybe some lowlights, depending on how this relationship between Bruce Arians and Tom Brady goes. Our Jeff Darlington, who is there in Tampa, is probably sick of talking about this relationship. Jeff, I was thinking, it kind of reminds me about like the early Facebook days when you were constantly changing your relationship to it's complicated, we're together, we're not. What's the current status of this relationship?
Well, Sam, I've been equally fascinated by the harsh candor with which Bruce Arians uses when he assesses Tom Brady's game, and I did express that to some people close to Brady, and I was surprised that I actually got kind of pushed back on a little bit, that Brady is okay with the way things are. He knew coming down to Tampa that this is how Arians is, and he actually kind of is amused by it. Now, there are no regrets on the part of Brady. He loves it down here in Tampa, and he knows that what also comes with some of those harsh public sentiments is no BS from Arians, that it's a pretty good lifestyle. Now, does that mean that things are perfect in Tampa? No, not by any means. Brady wants to see better midweek preparations, better situational planning, so that at the end of games, like the one against the Rams, they're in a better spot. Speaking with high-ranking Bucs sources, they say that they feel like they recognize that, and they have worked this week to try to make some corrections in that area. So are things aligned perfectly? No. But are relationships fractured here in Tampa? No, they are not. This is a team that still has optimism that they can get things back on the right track, Sam.
Yeah, Jeff, and we got to remember, too, that even in the late years of Bill Belichick, remember there were whispers of these two aren't getting along perfectly. That's just human nature and relationships. I want to bring in Matt Hasselbeck here. Matt, you heard what Jeff said there about Brady being okay with this. You got to know from a quarterback's perspective, he did his homework. He knew what he was getting into with Bruce Arians. But what do you think the key for this offense between those two is today?
Yeah, listen, quarterback criticism, that's just part of the job. You gotta have skin like an armadillo, as they say. But, you know, getting this offense back on track, you got to get Tom Brady back on track. How do you do that? You got to start running the football. The Bucs are not calling runs. They call a run 30% of the time. That's just, I mean, it's shocking to me. You want to help Tom Brady, help the guys up front. Give them more tools in their toolbox. They have an adequate runner. Ronald Jones, he's 5th in the NFL in rushing, yet in the last 5 weeks, he's averaging 11 carries a game. Sometimes you can get a little too creative, a little too cute. You get, you know, a little too distracted with the wide receivers and all the weapons and the tight ends that you have, and you forget to run the football. And I think that's what we're seeing in Tampa. We're seeing a team that gets away from the run way too quickly, and for that reason, I think you're seeing a quarterback who's under duress too much.
Yeah, Matt, I think that makes sense in terms of who he's got back there. But you got to know, when it's a Bruce Arians team, this guy doesn't want to run the ball. The screen game is the run game for him. So, Rex, when you look at from a coaching perspective, is some of this just stubbornness because that's not his thing? Like, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all assumed, at least I did, that he was going to, Bruce Arians would adopt to Tom Brady. He got one of the greatest that's ever done it, and he's the greatest winner in our sport. So, to me, adjust that way. When is the last time no risk it, no biscuit worked? I mean, we've seen it ruin Jameis Winston, right? He threw for 5,000 yards. He had some pluses, but he also turned it over 30 times. And then going back to Carson Palmer, his last days in Arizona, he had some struggles. So to me, this is not new for a quarterback coming in. I was hoping Bruce Arians would adjust to Tom Brady. That's certainly what I would have done with a great player like that. But, you know, this no risk it, no biscuit, I think needs to be thrown outy.
Yeah, well,
you know,
Bruce Arians isn't going to change who he is, Sam. He's the one that Rex is right. What he's done for so long, this is what I believe works, and this is what I want to do. I still believe, even within those plays, those deep shot plays, I mean, you don't want a 43-year-old quarterback leading the league in 20-plus yard completions, all right? I mean, attempts. So there's always the quarterback that has the ultimate control. I can drop it off to my running back. I can still select something underneath, but it's just hard when your running backs can't catch. And that's what they have in Tampa Bay. Take a profit. Don't go broke, take a profit. Tom Brady believes in that. But if I can't even do that, fellas, all right, well, I'll just throw it deep then. And that's where the conflict is. He has no running backs that can provide him that 3, 4, 5-yard gain easy like that.
Drew, you nailed it. They're behind the stick so often. And Matt talked about it, about run the football. Now you stay ahead of the sticks. If those guys can catch the ball, I get it. But, man, oh, man, it's that philosophy that just doesn't work for me.
We keep talking about the Tampa Bay Bucs to run the football. You know, when Tom Brady became a Tampa Bay Buck. Let me tell you this. Bruce Arians wasn't ready to run the football with Tom Brady. Seen all the success that Tom Brady had in the air up in Foxborough. He wants it there in Tampa. But I think there's one concern for me. When I look at the games that the Tampa Bay Bucks lost this year, you know, with the Rams, you got the Bears, you got the Saints twice, it's the confidence in Tom Brady. I think his confidence is shot. I think going forward for me, looking at the Tampa Bay Bucks offense, tonight in a big game like this, going against Patrick Mahomes and this Kansas City Chiefs team, they got a defensive tackle in Chris Jones is one of the best in the National Football League. I just alluded to Tom Brady being uncomfortable because his inability to step up in the pocket. Today, in order for Tom Brady to be comfortable to deliver that ball to his pass catchers, he has to be able to step up in that pocket. If he's able to do that, that's giving him all the confidence in the world that they can beat these defending Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, and if Tom Brady is uncomfortable, Patrick Mahomes is comfortable. And no matter what position you put him in, because, I mean, you put pressure in his face, I'll just drop back to about 15 yards and still flick it with my wrist. Where has the Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense been? You know, all those great players we try to mention early on, the Devin Whites and all these guys making big plays to help out the offense. That hasn't happened yet. And so this offense of the Kansas City Chiefs, I just see them scoring on them. So Brady may have to keep up with Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
And that's when that pressure is going to come in, because Patrick Mahomes, just like just all through the course of the year, slow build. He knows when it counts, and all of a sudden, he's playing great football, and he's the one that's going to lead this team, and it's going to be a tough out for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, to your point, Patrick Mahomes, 2 interceptions all season. Tom Brady, 5 in the last 3 games. So that's obviously a huge issue for the Bucs today.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.